everyone, welcome back to ErikaBuilds and another Sims 4 speed build. Today I have a very traditional style of family home for you guys that is, of course, based on the photo of a real house that I found online, which I'm sure if you've been watching my channel, you know is pretty much what I always do. And this house I'm building in Willow Creek definitely has a very traditional type of look. I don't know exactly, I mean, it's not Victorian. I guess I don't really know the different types of traditional houses with sort of this classic type of architecture, but maybe someone can tell me in the comments what type of house this is. But anyway, like I said, I found a photo of this picture, a picture of this house online. And if you follow me on Instagram, you might have noticed over the weekend, I was really struggling to find several things, to find the right look for this house, the right sort of doors and windows and columns. I was really struggling. In fact, at several points, I wanted to give up and just bulldoze this house and find something else to build. But you guys were really super helpful, and you gave me a lot of support and encouragement and a lot of really great ideas. And I was able to suck it up and go back to the drawing board and get this house built. So traditional homes are probably not one of my strong suits, and I've had several people ask me for this type of style and also Victorian, and they do kind of scare me because I don't have a lot of experience working with them. But I think, you know, the best thing you can always do is just try your best and hopefully learn from your mistakes, and then maybe the next time you'll get a little bit better and a little bit better until you can, you know, grasp whatever is difficult with the build. So if you want to see a picture of this real home, just head over to my Instagram. My username is ErikaBuilds, and you can take a look at it and see what you think. You know, I always try to stay really close to the design, as close as I can, but sometimes there are, you know, limitations, and so I have to be creative or make changes to kind of make it work, but I still want to stay pretty true to the original, you know, design of the house. But anyway, like I said, this is in Willow Creek. It's on a 30 by 20 lot. And I used quite a lot of base game in this house. In fact, when I first started building it, I intended to make it a base game build. I've been recently trying to do more of those and add them, you know, to my catalog, but pretty quickly into it, I hit some major roadblocks. For example, the front door being black. I could not find a black front door in base game at all. And the windows I was having trouble with. So yeah, I just kind of had to give up on the base game part. And I ended up using quite a bit of stuff from Strangerville, which I guess makes sense since most of the houses in that world are very traditional, you know, sort of Victorian style architecture. So you'll see me start to incorporate some of those elements as we continue on with the build, and I think that really helped me get through this initial roadblock. But anyway, as you might have noticed, I was raising the terrain because in the photo of the real house, it had this sort of like terraced, sort of leveled flower beds in the front with a pretty tall staircase headed up to the front door. So I wanted to try to replicate that as close as possible. I'm not the best person with terrain. I don't use a lot of terrain. I have made some houses like on hillsides or like some berms in the front yard around the flowers and things like that, but I haven't really done any significant terrain work. So it did take you probably noticed the whole first beginning part of this video was just me trying to get these levels exactly right. And If you haven't, I highly recommend watching some terrain manipulation tutorials on YouTube. There are a lot of them. A lot of different simmers have made those to help people. And so I recommend doing that because it's one of those things where I really didn't have a lot of luck figuring it out on my own. Because a lot of times, if there's some kind of new aspect to the game, I just like to figure things out by myself and just play around with it. But with terrain, I really needed to watch those tutorials and understand it better before I could sort of grasp like how to actually make different levels of terrain on like flat surfaces. Because you know, you can make these sort of mounds where you just raise the terrain up, but learning how to use those sort of like stair step levels is really super helpful when you need like a flat surface for either like I needed here for the walls, or if you're gonna have you know, flower beds and stuff, where sometimes with flowers and bushes you can put those on a hill, like on a sort of a lump of terrain. But really, if you want them to look nice and neat, you do need to have that kind of stair step effect. Anyway, I'm not the greatest with terrain, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying, and it's just something you have to practice with until you can, you know, figure out how to do it. But anyway, the house is taking shape here, and this is right around the time that I took some screenshots for Instagram to get some help from you guys, because at this point in the build, I was about to give up. But I'm glad that I didn't, because I do think I learned sort of from my mistakes as I was going through with this house. But it has a very traditional type of style and layout, which I always think is more difficult when you're dealing with kind of these boxy, very square type houses. You get those a lot with like colonial or traditional type homes, especially when you look at like New England and like in the older colonies and stuff, where you have a lot of these. Oh, there you go. You just see a big switch. That was right. Okay, so this was right after I came back to the house, after I got my pep talk on Instagram, and I changed the color and I changed the doors and I added those Strangerville doors, and I just started to finally feel like this build was coming together. And once I got to this point, I started getting more excited, because, you know, when you're building, you want to be having a positive, happy experience, right? So anyway, I finally kind of overcame that obstacle. And then once I got inside and started floor planning, I felt like things were coming together a lot better. Oh, I meant to mention at the beginning, hopefully you don't mind the classical music that I'm using in this speed build. I really didn't know that we were allowed to use that on YouTube. You guys know I'm pretty new to YouTube. I've only had this channel for 2 months. So I was browsing through the YouTube audio library, and I was trying to find music for this build, which I will admit, I spend a lot of time listening to the music because music is like my thing. I went to school for music and I have a degree in music, so I always pay very close attention to what type of music I'm choosing for the build, and I try to make the music sort of match the vibe of the build. And so anyway, I was browsing through the audio library and I was like, okay, this traditional home needs some traditional music. So I was typing in like traditional music, classical music, and then all of a sudden like Mozart and Bach and Handel and Beethoven and all this stuff started popping up, and I was like, what is going on? I didn't know I could use this. So I geeked out a little bit and I got really excited because I'm a huge nerd when it comes to classical music. And so now I have like 30 pieces of classical music saved to use for speed builds. I promise I won't use them all the time because I don't want to annoy you guys too much, but I do plan to use them now that I know that it's allowed. And I think that'll be really fun, especially with a house like this that's got a more traditional type of vibe. But anyway, as you see inside, I'm using those really cool archways that we got with Strangerville. I love those. They're super cool. And then I'm using the vampire stuff pack cabinets, and that's a door from Strangerville. So I'm getting a very sort of like, when I'm in this house, I feel like it's an old home, a very traditional home, but it's been updated and it has like all the modern conveniences. So it has these really high ceilings and these really beautiful archways with this intricate woodwork, but yet, you know, it still has computers and TVs and, you know, all the regular modern day family type items. So that was kind of fun to work with. And even though I was scared at first to try it, I had a lot of fun with this build, and I think I want to try doing more of these. Maybe even Victorian. I don't know. That scares me the most because I've never built anything in that style, but now I'm a little, maybe a tiny bit less scared after doing this house. So maybe I'll just rip the Band-Aid off and do that next time. But anyway, back to the build. This house has 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, and then there's like all the regular living room, dining room, kitchen. There's a large laundry room and an office. So there's plenty of space. For a 30 by 20 lot, I feel like it's got, you know, more than enough for an average size family. I also included some items for a pet as well. And there in the yard, there's also a pool. It's not a very big pool, but I tend to always put a swimming pool in every house that I build. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I wish I had a swimming pool, so that's why I give everyone one. So I did manage to squeeze in a pool in the back. And then there are also 2 good-sized porches and another little like side porch. So there's some room for outdoor living as well. So here I am working in the kitchen on some decor. Of course, these vampire cabinets I feel are very classic, very traditional. So I thought that matched really nicely with this style of house. And then for the walls, I went with all of this wainscoting in pretty much, I think, every room of the house, the bedrooms and all the living space, because I feel like that's also very traditional, especially with the wallpaper at the top. You know, wallpaper just screams traditional to me. And then to kind of change up the color, I decided to use this same swatch, but do different colors of that swatch in each room. So this kitchen is green, and the dining room is yellow, and the living room is brown, and the entryway is white. So I like that because it's very colorful, but yet there's uniformity since it's all, you know, from the same wallpaper pattern. Here's where I added a little area for the pet, and I used a lot of these archways, like I said, from Strangerville. So there's one separating the kitchen from the dining room, then there's one on the opposite side that separates the kitchen and entryway from the living room, and then there's an archway at the office as well. So even though this house is a little more compact and the rooms are a little bit more small and defined, I feel like the archways help give it a very open feeling. So I like that. Now here in the living room, that door is from Strangerville. So beautiful. You know, I remember when this pack first came out and I saw these gorgeous doors and windows, and I was like, oh, I'm going to use these all the time. They're so beautiful. And then I never use them. A couple of reasons. Number one, I don't do a ton of traditional houses, but number two, I don't do a lot of houses on this higher ceiling height, because normally I like to use just the regular low standard sort of ceiling height. I don't know why, maybe that's just a habit. So a lot of this Strangerville stuff requires the higher ceiling, not just these doors, but also the bookcases and the windows and stuff that came with this pack as well. So it gave me the opportunity to use a lot of that, which was fun, because it's always fun when you can use items that you don't usually use. And it's almost kind of like shopping, because I'm going through and I'm looking at all these different swatches and these different types of curtains and windows and whatever. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know we had this, or I don't know. It just makes everything seem sort of new again, especially because I've been doing so many builds lately that are very like country style and rustic style that it's kind of fun to experiment around with some of these other packs and these different styles of furniture. Here's this bookcase from Strangerville, which is huge. It is so tall, but I really wanted to use it because it matches the doors so nicely. So I decided to go with pink for this office. So with the wallpaper and also with that rug, which is from the Laundry Day stuff pack. And I felt like it gave the office a very bright and cheerful feeling. Of course, if you need your office to have a door for some reason, you could always just swap that archway out for a door that closes. Here in the living room, I'm keeping all the furniture very traditional, a little bit more fancy and upscale, fresh flowers and sort of, these classical pieces like the artwork and the bust and the mirrors. They're all very classic things that you would see normally in Victorian style houses or older homes. So I was kind of keeping that as like a running theme through the house. And I think it fits because you would think that usually when people live in a home that is older, if it's historic or it's been refurbished or whatever, they usually try to keep a lot of, nods to all the classical type of design with like mixed with modern influences. So I was kind of thinking about that as I was decorating the house and trying to kind of marry those two concepts together where you have sort of this, traditional classical look, but then you also incorporate in all the regular, modern conveniences. Okay, so this is the large laundry room, which is just off of like this hallway that kind of runs through the middle of the house, basically takes you from the living room through the kitchen, past the front door, and then to the opposite side, which is where this laundry room is. So it's pretty convenient to every area of the house. And I went with Laundry Day stuff pack in here, but instead of Jungle Adventure for the tile, I went with the Space Game tile. I feel like these tiles are very traditional. They're very sort of classic. If you've been in older homes, I think you would very commonly find this kind of tile, this like porcelain, white porcelain type of tile. So normally, that's not what I would use with Laundry Day, but I think it worked out, and I kind of stuck with some pinks in here, pink and white in here, just to keep it nice and bright. And then I'm just cluttering it up with all the regular, soaps and detergents and various laundry room clutter. And then just through this laundry room, there is also a bathroom, which is maybe not ideal, but the way the floor plan worked, this was pretty much the only way to do it. I had played around with maybe having the door take you into the bathroom first and then the laundry room, but then that didn't make any sense. And so I'm like, okay, there's a side entrance right between the laundry room and the office. And so I just imagine you could come through here, and then with the bathroom here as well, it's almost kind of like a mudroom. And pink for the washer and dryer. And then I'm kind of working on all the rooms a little bit at once, going back and forth. One thing when you're not used to a particular type of style, you sort of tend to forget the decor items that go with it. So as I was going through the catalog looking for stuff to clutter up the laundry room, I was like, oh, I need to use this in the dining room, or oh, I need to use this in the bathroom, or just remembering certain decor items that I hadn't used in a while. And I'm using that same sort of white porcelain tile for that bathroom as well. The exterior of this house is green, which is what the original photo of the real house looked like. And it's not the exact same shade of green, but it's pretty close. And then the wrought iron railings are from the vampire pack. There's actually a few things from the vampire pack in this house, which makes sense because that goes pretty much hand in hand with the traditional and Victorian style of architecture. Okay, so now we're upstairs. I'm continuing with the same type of flooring and the same type of wallpaper up here, keeping it very traditional. This is the master bedroom. I decided to go with this very fancy bed and matching nightstands and chests. Just because I think it really matches the theme of the house, and it's kind of a little bit loud, I guess, when you mix, wallpaper and bedspreads and rugs and everything together. But I think I purposely tried to choose the ones that were kind of the same sort of brocade pattern, so maybe it wouldn't be quite as shockingly busy, but I also wanted it to sort of be that way because I feel like a lot of times when you go into old houses, they do have like a lot of wacky, sort of wallpapers and patterns that you don't usually see. So I was kind of envisioning that as I was decorating. And this furniture is a very, very, very dark brown, almost black, which I think blends pretty nice with the black and white and gray interior colors. Then the master also has its own bathroom. I started at first with a corner tub that is from Get Famous, but then I decided it was way too modern for this style of house. So I swapped it out for just a old-fashioned clawfoot bathtub, which made more sense. And then I still used this same sort of tile like I used downstairs because I think it looks very old-fashioned. Then I tried to make sure that the sink and toilet kind of matched with that same black and white. And then the wood for the medicine cabinet and for the cabinet under the sink are the same sort of super dark, dark, dark brown like the bedroom set. I'm still not 100% sure I like those floor tiles, but they do match, so I decided to leave them in there. And then I'm just cluttering up these nightstands a little bit and heading to the kids' rooms. So I decided I kind of had a hard time dividing this up upstairs because it was basically just a big giant box. And I played around with doing 4 bedrooms, but I ended up doing 3, but they're big bedrooms. But I kind of like that for kids' rooms because I always like kids to have a desk along with their, dresser and chest and bookcase and mirror and toy box. And, I like for kids to have a lot of stuff in their rooms. So it worked out well to have 3 bedrooms here. Most everything in this room is pink and white. Again, sticking with the very classical type of furniture. This bed is actually the same swatch as the bed in the master. It's just in the twin size version. And then that little small desk from Parenthood, I like how the legs of that desk look very classic and really matches nicely with the bedroom set. Has that same sort of legs. And of course a mirror in here and some toys, stuffed animals, all that typical kid stuff that you would expect to see. And I used a laptop in here and a backpack, and yeah, I think this room turned out pretty cute. I think it could be used for a child or a teen, maybe, either one. Or if you had a toddler, you could just swipe. You could just swap the bed out for a toddler bed. I try to keep my kids' rooms fairly generic so that, depending on what kind of family with what ages of kids your Sims family happens to have, it should be able to to work, maybe with just a few small changes. And then the kids' room that's right next door is in yellow with white and gray, keeping with that same type of furniture, very classic style, that same bed, just in a different swatch for the bedspread. I really like that gray and white striped bedspread. I don't think I've used this bed before. And a very classic desk, another laptop, and all the typical kids type stuff that you would expect to see, posters and toys and stuffed animals and all those typical things. With the hardwood floors, I just made sure to give a nice comfy rug under the bed, and these chandeliers are also matching with the little lampshades. I like using all these sort of different lamps and decor items that I really never get to use. It's kind of fun, and a lot of this stuff is base game. If you only have base game and you download this house, I mean, there is going to be quite a few things that are missing, but the nice thing is, because of this traditional style, I think it would be fairly easy to fill in the missing items with some other base game stuff. And then there's a hall bathroom that the kids can share. I started out with gray and white in here, and then I ended up adding some black because, and I didn't really realize until after the house was done that the parents' bathroom also had black. So I didn't really mean it to turn out that way, but the reason it did is because I wanted to do double sinks for the kids, and so I decided to do the same cabinets that I had used in the kitchen, these black and white cabinets from Vampire Stuff Pack. And so then it ended up being sort of a black and white bathroom right next to another black and white bathroom, but that wasn't really intentional, but hopefully it's okay. But I do like these cabinets for the bathroom. I think it's cute with the double sinks and the mirrors. That has a very traditional sort of look. And I wanted to make sure this house had bathtubs because I feel like that also fits with the older home style. And it's nice because there's a pet, so you'll have a bathtub for that. Okay, so most of the landscaping I cut out, but I did leave a little bit of it in here just so you could sort of see where I put some of the flowers and shrubs and bushes and things. It's a pretty big house, so there wasn't really very much of a yard. Like I said, just a very small pool back here. And then on the back porch, there's a grill and a dining set. Then around here at the front, if you see right there on the side where that chess set is, that's that side door I was talking about that's right between the office and the laundry room. And I just stuck a chess set out there because I thought it needed some sort of an activity or something. I needed something to put on that little side porch. So now I'm just kind of going through the house and looking to see what's missing or what I forgot to do. And that's really just about it. So thank you guys so much for watching another speed build with me. This one was definitely a struggle, but I'm glad I stuck with it and that I didn't give up. And hopefully I'll keep gaining more confidence to do more of these traditional style homes and I can improve. That's always my goal. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for 700 subscribers, by the way. That was awesome to hit this weekend. I'm really excited. We're going to have a giveaway at 750, so hopefully that won't be too much longer. This house is in the gallery if you'd like to download it. My ID is ErikaBuilds, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My username is also ErikaBuilds. So have a great day, you guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.